What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and the Raptors are off to a great start this season. They're 14-4, and despite losing Kawhi Leonard, they have the 7th ranked offense in the league. They're scoring 110.9 points per 100 possessions, so I thought it'd be interesting if I looked into their offense to see what's working for them and why they're so efficient. Well, let's get to it. What immediately stands out when watching them is that they have elite spacing. They'll often play with true 5-out spacing, where here VanVleet has it on top, and there are 4 players spread around the 3-point arc, which makes it easier for VanVleet to look to drive and then try to finish. And when we look at their starting lineup, we can see that all 5 guys can shoot at least 35% from 3, and this is quite a luxury. What's great is that the 5-out component is valuable in a number of different situations. So here it's in transition where Anunoby has it, and he spots that the lane is wide open, so if he's able to get to the basket, he'll be able to stride into his finish. Here it's off an offensive rebound. Once Chris Boucher gets it and kicks it back out, the Raptors do a nice job of clearing out of the lane, so if there's a mistake on the perimeter, that rotation from that weak side rim protector is going to be a longer rotation, and here Scal can't get over to protect the basket. The spacing is also valuable on cuts, so here when VanVleet beats his man backdoor, there's likely not going to be weak side help because of the spacing. And I do want to emphasize what the Raptors have isn't the norm. So here for instance, the Pacers have someone in the dunker spot, which is fine, but we see that when McDermott beats his man on a backdoor cut, the rotation to protect the basket is going to be much easier now for that defender because there wasn't true 5-out spacing. And while all of these starters deserve credit, I do think Marc Gasol deserves the most credit for their spacing because he's a center, and most centers who can defend like him certainly can't shoot like him and space the floor. So even though Marc Gasol doesn't touch the ball on this play, he has a big effect because he's standing in the corner, taking the opposing center away from the basket, which gives VanVleet space to drive and score. And a few plays later when Vucevic does come to help, Gasol makes him pay. And of course, Gasol isn't just a standstill shooter. So here, when he's run off the 3-point line, now all of a sudden you have an elite decision maker attacking a closeout. And they're running actions to take advantage of the unique spacing they do have. So one thing they like to do is go into their ball reversal game, where Gasol will get it on top, and with the floor completely spread, now you have a great passer facilitating a split cut game on the wing, and when Norman Powell slips to the basket here, they get a layup. And they also like their fair share of spread pick and rolls. Here Siakam is used as the roll man, and he's able to be used like that because Gasol is in the corner, taking Cody Zeller away from the paint. And the classic way to take advantage of Gasol's shooting is of course the pick and pop, and here he pops and hits a 3. And while he will hit the occasional pick and pop, most of the time his effect is a bit more subtle. So here he does pick and pop for 3, and this time his shooting gravity makes Hassan Whiteside hesitant to stop ball, which allows VanVleet a straight line drive to the rim. So you can see how Gasol's shooting and spacing provides benefit in a number of different actions. And I think Gasol's post touches over the last 3 years is a good stat that demonstrates the change in his game that's taken place. So in 17-18 he averaged 10.2 post touches per game, last year he averaged 6.5 post touches per game, and this year, his first full year in Toronto, he's averaging 1.9 post touches per game. And I do think Nick Nurse deserves credit for making him more of a perimeter player in the modern NBA. Now next I want to talk about Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. He's been big off the bench for the Raptors this year, earning 22 minutes a night, and this is despite the fact that he hasn't made a 3 all season. So how does that make sense? How does a non-shooter fit on a team that when he's off the floor, they play with 5-out spacing? Well, to understand why he's a really good fit in Toronto, let's look at the team he was on last year, Brooklyn. And if we remember, they had 2 centers who couldn't shoot at all, Jarrett Allen and Ed Davis. So when Rondae tried to play with one of those 2 guys, now all of a sudden the Nets had 2 non-shooters on the floor, and that's just untenable in the modern NBA. And Rondae really didn't have success on last year's Nets team. But with Toronto, they have 3 centers who can all shoot threes, or in Chris Boucher's case, at least try to shoot threes, and that's why the fit is working. He can be paired with one of these 3 players. So now Rondae can man that dunker spot along the baseline, while here Gasol spreads out to the corner, taking Whiteside with him. This isn't quite as dynamic as true 5-out spacing, but you don't necessarily need that, and a lot of good offenses don't have 5 guys on the floor who can all shoot. With other shooters on the floor, Rondae can also be used well as a roll man in the pick and roll. And the other reason this fit is working is because Rondae is just really good in that dunker spot. He has a great feel for going after offensive rebounds, and here he gets one. He's also really good at circling up to the front of the rim on a baseline drive, and this is what I mean. So here there's the baseline drive, his man steps up to help, so what he'll do is he'll come and circle to the front of the rim. This makes the pass easier for VanVleet, and also that's a longer weak side rotation now for Dame Lillard, and here he gets it. He's not a 7-foot center who can stand right there and look to catch an alley-oop. He has to be like everyone else in the world and move and circle up to the front of the rim and make himself available for that pass. He's also quite disciplined about actually being in the dunker spot when he's supposed to. So here we see he's several feet outside of the paint, and this creates some space because now his defender has to stick relatively close to him to avoid a 3-second call, and the Raptors get a layup here. And a lot of centers aren't super diligent about that. So here, for instance, it's clear that Jrue Holiday is isolating on the wing. So what Okafor should do is sprint to that dunker spot and get out of the way. But we see instead he slowly jogs to the front of the rim. And this just makes it so much easier for his defender to help on the drive and guard 2 players at once. Lastly, it's only right that we finish with Pascal Siakam. He's averaging 25 a night, and he's a big reason why this offense has been so successful. And I can make a whole video just on him, but in this video I want to focus on his shooting, the most obvious part of his improvement, but it's such a big part. So last year, for instance, he shot 42% on corner threes and 26% on non-corner threes. And this year he's shooting 42% from corner threes and up to 37% on those more difficult non-corner threes. And this is a big deal because now he commands more respect on the perimeter, he can be positioned in different spots, and also he can be used in different actions such as the pick and pop to get an above the break non-corner 3. And in the same summer, he not only improved his range on catch and shoot threes, but he's shooting many more off the dribble threes. Last year he took 8 total, but this year he's already taken 40 and he's hitting them at a 38% clip. He's hitting them in isolation scenarios where if the defender backs off, he'll just pop it right over him. And his off-the-dribble shooting also comes in handy during different actions. So one that the Raptors have gone to a good amount of late is where VanVleet or another guard ball screens for Siakam, so sort of an inverse pick and roll. And here, when the Blazers completely back off of him, he says, fine, I'll take the pull-up 3. We see his handle on display here, where here Norman Powell sets that inverse pick and roll, and this time Fultz will come with a hedge, but Siakam is able to split him and then attack and find the open man. So on this play, we've seen him pull up, we've seen him split the hedge. What about here? So VanVleet sets that ball screen, and then the Sixers will switch a good defender, James Ennis, onto him. And what does Siakam do? Well, he's able to bully Ennis in the middle of the floor off the dribble, taking him right to the basket and using his size to draw a foul. Very impressive. Well, there you have it, guys. And after watching the Raptors play, I think it's very clear that both the players and the coaches are very smart. And I think a great way to demonstrate this is to look at their shot distribution. They take the 4th most shots at the rim, the 7th most shots from 3-point land, and the 28th most shots from mid-range. Basically, they're taking good shots. They're not taking the less efficient mid-range shots, instead opting for shots at the rim and shots from 3. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.